Hey there, Sun Devils! Welcome back to Inside the Inferno. I'm Sam Valenti, he's Griffin Greenberg, and we have an exciting show for you today.
We sure do, Sam. A lot going on in the Sun Devil world, and we're covering just about everything for you right here today on Inside the Inferno. From football to swimming, you name it. But first, let's head over to Jerry, who's given us some updates on the ASU women's soccer team.
Thanks, guys. The number 20 Sun Devil soccer team wrapped up their non-conference play on Friday as they beat the Colorado College Tigers 1-0 in Colorado Springs. Nicole Douglas scored the only goal in the game in double overtime as a penalty with 3 minutes left to take the win for the Sun Devils. With the win, the Sun Devils wrapped up their non-conference play on a 3-game win streak, including wins over Nebraska and number 21 Texas Tech at a neutral venue in Tucson last weekend. The winning streak came after the Sun Devils dropped their only game of the season 5-3 in a loss to now ranked number 7 LSU. They sit at 8-1 on the season through the first 9 games, and one key player for the team has been Nicole Douglas, who leads the team with 9 goals now this season and is tied with the team lead in assists with 4, alongside Ava Van Dersen and Corey Sullivan. The ASU begins their Pac-12 play on Friday, September 24th in Seattle against the Washington Huskies, before coming back to Tempe to host USC on September 30th and the current number 3 UCLA on October 3rd. That's all for me. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Jerry. Now let's switch from English football to American football and bring in Tyler Bednar with some takeaways from ASU's victory over UNLV.
Thanks, guys. I'm here to break down my top takeaways from Week 2 of Sun Devils football. The Sun Devils started the game slow and trailed the Running Rebels 3-0 after the first quarter, as they were unable to move the ball down the field. A second quarter surge gave the Sun Devils a lead at halftime, but only a slight one, 14-10. The Sun Devils held the Running Rebels scoreless during the second half and added 23 points of insurance, winning the game 37-10. Jaden Daniels completed an efficient 20 of his 25 passes for 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Daniel also ran for a career-high 122 yards on the ground. Daniels had a rough start to the game, leading the offense into the red zone before getting intercepted at the end of his first drive. He started heating up in his second drive, though, completing all passes, including a 3-yard touchdown pass to Johnny Wilson at the start of the second quarter. Daniels took this momentum to lead the Sun Devils to a 27-point victory, which jumped the team from 23rd to 19th in the country. Finally, the defense played a great game overall, only allowing a touchdown and a field goal, all in the first half. Unlike normal performances, the ASU defense didn't have any takeaways this game. However, they held UNLV quarterback Doug Brumfield to a rough 6 of 14 passing for 60 yards and a rushing touchdown. The 19th-ranked ASU Sun Devils face the 23rd-ranked BYU Cougars away from their home turf this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. That's all I have for you this week. Let's head to Ryan with a look at the Devils' upcoming matchup with BYU.
For the first time this season, the Arizona State football team hits the road as they head to Provo, Utah for a top 25 battle. The 23rd-ranked BYU Cougars host the 19th-ranked Sun Devils. Saturday night's matchup will mark the first game between the two schools since 1998. As for this week, the Cougars are off to a hot start this season, ranking 23rd with a 2-0 record. They have defeated 2 Pac-12 teams, including a win over then 21st-ranked Utah Utes last week. The Cougars currently hold an 11-game winning streak on their home turf at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. The Sun Devils' offense has been run heavy in the first 2 games this year. Redshirt senior Rashad White is on a tear with 4 straight games with multiple touchdowns. The Sun Devils have also rushed for over 200 yards in 4 straight games and are 10-1 in such games under Herm Edwards. Additionally, in their past 5 games, ASU has 23 rushing touchdowns, which is the most of any FBS team over their most recent 5-game stretch. This week, the offense goes up against a defense that has surrendered over 130 yards on the ground in each game this season, so expect a heavy workload from White and the running back core. Also, ASU's hoping to have Chip Trainum back this week after missing last week with an ankle injury. As for the man under center, Jaden Daniels threw his first 2 passing touchdowns of the season last week against UNLV. He connected with Johnny Wilson and LV Bunkley Shelton for their first collegiate scores. This week, Daniels is set to reach a career milestone of throwing for 4,000 yards in his Sun Devil career. He is currently 49 yards shy of this feat. On the defensive side, the Sun Devils have been dominant. They have held both of their opponents to under 250 yards of total offense. In total, they have only surrendered 379 yards of offense, which is the least in the first 2 games of a season in program history since 2009. Last week, they surrendered only 19 yards of offense in the second half against the Running Rebels. The defense is currently second in the FBS in quarterback pressure rate at 46.6%. Linebacker Darian Butler is also the only player in the country with 2 sacks and 2 interceptions. The BYU offense is led by sophomore quarterback Jaron Hall. In his first 2 games this year, he has totaled 485 yards and 5 touchdowns. The dual-threat quarterback will pose a threat to the ASU defense. Last week, he threw for 149 yards and 3 touchdowns, along with 92 yards on the ground. With a win on Saturday, ASU improved to 6-5 in games against top 25 opponents under Herm Edwards and clinch their 7th consecutive non-conference win. Back to you guys at the desk.
Sticking to the gridiron, the NFL is back in full swing. It's time to look at how the Pro Devils are doing in the league. Former star wide receiver for ASU, Brandon Nyuk, played in the 49ers opener against the Lions. But dealing with a hamstring injury, he played just 26 snaps and was not targeted once. My condolences go out to anyone who had Nyuk on their fantasy team. Lawrence Guy, former defensive tackle for the Sun Devils, made 4 tackles for the Patriots in their loss to the Dolphins. And finally, former ASU kicker Zane Gonzalez is now a Carolina Panther and will hopefully be the answer the team needs at the position.
Yeah, Sam, and a little bit of question with that situation in San Francisco with Brandon Nyuk and how he's really implemented into their game plan going forwards. Now let's bring in Inferno Intel betting analyst Daniel Triana for a look at his picks for ASU's upcoming football game. Daniel, what are the odds looking like for this matchup against BYU?
Yeah, Griff, for a 3rd straight week, Arizona State is the favorite to win. The spread for ASU is -3.5, and the over-under total is 51.
Spread's a lot closer than we've seen recently. So with that in mind, how exactly has ASU played against the spread this season?
So far this season, ASU is 0-2 against the spread, but one note for bettors is that Arizona State is the road team this week, and in ASU's last 6 games, the road team has covered the spread.
Interesting, interesting. Well, Daniel, what exactly do you make of those numbers, and what are your picks for this week?
My pick of the week is under 51 points. Both teams have gone under in their first 2 games of the season, and ASU has gone under in 6 of their last 8 games.
Thanks for that, Daniel. You can find more of his content on infernointel.com. Now let's head over to Olivia and Keith for a look at Sun Devil recruiting.
During the offseason, ASU coaches for winter and spring sports have been hot on the recruiting trail. And for proof, we don't need to look any further than a familiar, intense face in men's basketball coach Bobby Hurley.
Just under 3 weeks ago, the program added a top 100 recruit in point guard Austin Nunez. Assistant coach Jermaine Kimbrough beat out basketball powerhouses Virginia and Texas for the San Antonio-based senior. Hurley and co. will likely rely heavily on the sharp-shooting southpaw for offense once he arrives on campus, given the veteran-heavy backcourt the 2021 Sun Devils will sport. ASU basketball is not the only sport excelling in shoring up their future, however, as former Sun Devil is doing the same now that he's back on campus.
Yeah, out at the Diamond, ASU baseball coach Willie Bloomquist and his staff have been hard at work and have been fulfilling that promise of focusing on a lot of local recruiting to join locally recruited names on the roster already, like Ethan Long and Hunter Haas. Some names out of the Valley joining MLBU for 2022 include outfielder Isaiah Jackson, and then 4 left-handed pitchers in Brandon Compton, Steven Hernandez, Austin Humphreys, and Brandon Coble. Then right-handed pitcher Logan Solomon is also out of the Valley. Out of the Lone Star State is Jose Vargas with Trotsky, Texas, and these lefties will be needed considering this season's bullpen has just 4 lefties if you include Kai Murphy. And the Devils don't lack in righties with 16, including Ethan Long this season, but lost quite a few, including starters Cooper Benson and Tyler Thornton going in the draft, along with Justin Fall as well. All I know is I'm getting antsy for some fall ball, and there's a lot of exciting talent coming to join the staff in 2022.
Yeah, the men's basketball program isn't just looking to the regional or national circuit for talent. Just like the baseball team, they're looking for local talent, recently adding Hillcrest Prep center Duke Brennan. The Gilbert native is a 3-star prospect who has recently burst onto the national scene. The 5-man is very mobile at 6'10" and excels at finishing around the rim, very similarly to current ASU big man Jalen Graham. This success must have rubbed off on the women's side, with Charlie Turner Thorne and the women's program taking note, as February's commitment of Triana Crisp is a big-time get currently attending Phoenix's PHH Prep. The 5'8" guard is a top 75 prospect in ESPN's class of 2022 rankings. It's not hard to envision her and current sophomore Jaden Simmons teaming up to form one of the better backcourts in the Pac-12 in the near future. Clearly, the future is very bright for the Lady Devils.
And that will wrap up your Sun Devil recruiting news. For Keith Dotley, I'm Olivia Eisenhower. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Keith and Olivia. A lot of big-name recruits and bright futures for these teams. And speaking of bright futures, let's head over to Ashley Engel, who will give us an update on the golf teams as they kicked off their seasons recently.
Yeah, Griffin, Sun Devil women's and men's golf started their fall seasons this past week, with men's golf traveling to Texas to compete in the Marido Invitational. Senior Cameron Sisk won the individual title after a sudden death playoff against Texas Tech's Bard Scogan, scoring a par on the first playoff hole to seal the deal. Sisk scored 7 under par, making this his 3rd collegiate individual win. There is more to come from the senior Sisk as he earned a spot to play in the Houston Open November 11th through the 14th in Texas. As a team, the Sun Devils placed 3rd overall, scoring 2 over par. Now the men are in Chicago. A quick turnaround for the Sun Devils. They will be competing in the Fighting Illini Invitational with a handful of top 10 NCAA ranked teams, including Pepperdine and Oklahoma State, this weekend at Olympia Fields. Now the women's golf team traveled to Minneapolis to play in the Annika Intercollegiate this past week and finished in 8th place with 5 over par. Freshman Callan Rochholt, which a lot of fans were excited to see, had her collegiate tournament debut and finished in the top 15, tying for 13th with 1 under par. Alongside Rochholt was Sun Devil senior Alexandra Fosterling, with this being her 11th career top 20 finish. Now both teams are expected by many to put on a show this season, and so far, Griffin, they are off to a great start. Back to you, Sam.
Thanks for the golf update, Ashley. We will be looking forward to seeing what both teams accomplish this season. Now let's bring in Inferno Intel volleyball expert Connor McGill for some updates on the team. Connor, what have you seen so far from the ASU volleyball team in the non-conference season?
Well, Sam, what I've seen so far from the team is, they perform well versus good teams. Only in the second game of the season, they came down to 5 sets versus the number 13th ranked Louisville Cardinals. Then a good Georgia Bulldogs team lost to them in the 5th set. But when ASU wins the first set, they win the game, and they performed very well so far in the non-conference season, looking good and going into Pac-12.
I agree. The Sun Devils have looked very strong. And who are some players we should be watching in this Pac-12 season?
There is a handful of superstars on this team for sure, but if I had to name anyone, it would have to be Marta Levinska, Iman Asanovic, and Libero Larson. Starting out with sophomore outside hitter Levinska, obviously being the younger one. She brings some great energy to the team. Thus far, she has totaled 115 kills and 82 digs only in 9 games, which is good to see from a young player like her. Now moving on to the upperclassmen, you have junior outside hitter Asanovic, and what she brings is great communication to her team. She is one of 6 upperclassmen, and she brings some great expertise being an upperclassman. And thus far in this season, she leads her team in kills with 151, and then she's 3rd in digs with 79. And wrapping it all out, you have junior Libero Larson, which she brings in great team chemistry, and especially on the defensive side. Thus far, she leads the team in digs with 152, which is great production from a libero like her.
I agree. Larson has had some fantastic production. And while non-conference is important, the real question is, how do you think the team will fare heading into Pac-12 competition?
Well, Sam, I think that's a question that everyone's answered, and being quite frank with you, the team is going to be coming in with around 7 to 8 wins into the Pac-12 season following the result of the UNLV match, which is going to be played on Saturday. So I feel the team enters somewhat in the middle of the pack. You have your Pac-12 powerhouses like Washington, Oregon, and UCLA, which tend to stay at the top. And then you have teams like ASU, Stanford, and Cal. I think we'll see pretty quickly where ASU stands after their first couple of games. Surely it's going to be an interesting Pac-12 season.
I agree. We will all be watching that. Thank you very much, Connor. You can find more of his amazing content on InfernoIntel.com. Now let's check out another team getting set to begin with Dylan Pescator and Sun Devil Hockey.
Thank you, Sam. I'm Dylan Pescator, here to talk all about ASU hockey. The season's just about 2 weeks away, so I'm here to preview the squad. This will be the last year at Oceanside Ice Arena for the boys. They will be moving to a new home that is being built on the Tempe campus as we speak. Captains Jacob Wilson and Johnny Walker, along with assistant captains Jordan Sandu and Willie Neerum, will be leading what they hope will be a bounce-back year. Last season, due to COVID, Arizona State had to play all their games on the road in the Big Ten Conference, where they went 7-16-3 as they faced some of the toughest college hockey has to offer. In terms of young guns, ASU is a bunch that are ready to contribute right away. Josh Stone and Jackson Niedermeyer will be jumping right into the mix, and if you think you recognize those names, it's because both are sons of former NHL stars. Jackson's father, Scott, who played for the New Jersey Devils and Anaheim Ducks, and Josh's dad, Shane, an Arizona Coyote legend. Both had amazing careers. The Sun Devils will be opening up their season at Oceanside on October 2nd, where they start a weekend series against Massachusetts Lowell. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you all for tuning into another episode. I'm Griffin Greenberg.
And I'm Sam Valenti. For more, make sure you visit InfernoIntel.com and follow us on Twitter and Instagram @InfernoIntel. See you next time and have a golden day.